I have to ask you because I feel like people are going to be curious. It feels a little late to be doing, election breakdowns or postmortems or what have you. But as someone who was much more senior than I was in the campaign and privy to a lot more, I'm curious just to know, briefly, where you think we went wrong and what lessons should we learn for the next time we mount a progressive presidential candidate?
That the neoliberals saw us coming.
Hmm.
They saw how well our movement did, how well the senator did in 2016. They didn't think he was a threat, and when I say threat, I mean a threat to the status quo. But winning 22, million votes in that, or excuse me, contest in that primary was a really big deal. And not only did he win contest, but he also changed the narrative, and we saw that narrative, the foundation that he built, whether it was Medicare for all or legalizing marijuana, Green New Deal, you name it, permeate the debate, animate the entire debate for 2020. So I believe that we, among other things, but you said briefly, we underestimated the fierceness, how fiercely determined that the neoliberals would be to stop our movement and to stop our candidate. You both may recall that even when it started to percolate that Senator Sanders was considering a run in 2020, groups of people got together. They reported this to the reporter. They weren't even ashamed about how to stop Senator Bernie Sanders. So that was always on their mind from day one. Not how to make this country a better place, not how to take some of his ideas and make them real. It was about how to stop him. And never in the history of a presidential run did you see the coalescing in the same way that we saw happen against our campaign, with the number two person in terms of winning contests gather up, the number two and the number three person gather up to support the person that's in the fourth place to bring it on home in that way. That had never happened ever, but it happened to our campaign. So never, the progressive movement needs not to ever, ever, ever underestimate the determination to which neoliberals or mainline Democrats, what they will do to try to stop this progressive movement. We need to organize and we need to be more agile. We were not agile enough and we were not collectively organized enough to beat back what happened to Senator Sanders. There are other variables, but I think that
Right.
that was one
Yeah.
of the major ones.
So we can anticipate that sort of thing happening again, right? To your point,
Absolutely.
we shouldn't, take any kind of lead or enthusiasm for granted. So what, if anything, do you think the campaign could have done to be more agile or to anticipate or ward off that kind of coalescing of the moderates that we saw?
I mean, it's kind of hard for me to say because I'm biased on being on the inside. No campaign is perfect, but I tell
Sure.
you what, we made history. We won Iowa, we won New Hampshire, we won Nevada.
Yeah.
Nobody had done that. I really just don't know what else we could have done. People saying that this campaign did not try hard to win over the African American community is just not true. And we
Mm.
know that younger people from all ethnic groups definitely supported Senator Sanders. But I mean, Jesus, I adopted South Carolina, as you know. For every other state that I
Mm-hmm.
went to, I was in South Carolina 2 to 3 times more, and bringing people like Brother Danny Glover, who's a legend across generations. Dr. Cornel West, a legend across generations. People like Mayor Gus Newport, who was the mayor of Berkeley, who was one of the, he rolled with Minister Malcolm X. I mean, bringing that kind of history to bear, and so many other people, both black and white, into South Carolina over and over and over and over again. You had people like the number of representatives that supported Senator Sanders. I mean, he had more support from black members of the legislature than any other candidate. People like Justin Bamberg and others. So to that is something that I wish. I'm glad I get a chance on this show with you two to say that, because the work was there. And I mean work in terms of earning the vote and not making assumptions about what is owed or somebody's proximity to somebody else. Worked really hard. And the senator himself came into that state over and over and over and over again. I really just don't know what else we could have done to try to earn the vote. There's always something. Don't get me wrong. I know there's some blind spots in every campaign. But
Sure.
from my vantage point, I will say that we worked extraordinarily hard to try to win over the African American community. So it was not for trying. Learned some lessons from 2016 and took some of those lessons learned and applied them to 2020.